everybody. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Comfort and Joy with Lady Curry. So, for those of you who do not know, July is the month that is set aside to celebrate culinary arts. And that is the efforts and the beautiful dishes and talents and creative dishes that chefs and bakers, home cooks and all bring to various tables, your home tables, restaurant tables, and lunch cafeterias. Anybody who dishes out food for people to enjoy, you can consider yourself included in this celebration. So with that being said, July is the set aside month. I was going to do my own homage to Culinary Arts Month. So I chose to do my chocolate cake, my decadent chocolate cake. But you know what? Because it's Culinary Arts Month, I'm going to put my spin on it, and I'm going to also add a sweet treat in between my layers. How about that? So I want to bring you guys along with me, and we're going to get started. So what I want to do is just break down what I'm going to do, and then through the magic of editing, we're going to go step by step, and I'm going to show you how my delectable cake is accomplished.
Next wildflower is incredible. She spent time in the military and then was named the CHOP champion in 2015 and recently became the first Black female chef instructor at the Culinary Institute of America. Please take a look.
My name is Chef Roshara Sanders, also known as Chef Ro. I am from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I am a lecturing instructor at the Culinary Institute of America. Food has always been an important area in my life. I grew up in the projects. I don't know who my father is. I'm the only child, so me and my mom are extremely close. My mom's from Queens, New York, and when she moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut, the first job she received in the city was a chef. My mom has always showed her love language through food. I was able to see how resilient my mother can be, hard work, dedication. That filtered into me at a young age. The Culinary Institute of America is the world premier college for culinary arts. It was founded in New Haven, Connecticut for World War II veterans to come back and rehabilitate themselves into a new industry. Because the school was founded for veterans, I decided to join the military. I served 6 years, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Once I came back from the military, I got my acceptance letter and I was so excited to go. I'm proud to say that I am the first Black female culinary arts instructor, and I am so humbled. I'm really here to inspire the mind, the heart, and soul. Because food is love and because food is life, I've taken on the responsibility as being a humanitarian and philanthropist. So during the pandemic, when all the restaurants were shut down, I felt a call to do something for my community. So I got all of the local chefs in my city to donate over 1,000 meals to Bridgeport Hospital, Yale, New Haven Hospital, and the VA Hospital in West Haven. And we did over 1,000 meals in 3 days. I partner with Habitat for Humanity International. We go out, we build homes, and we give back. I'm so happy that all of my dreams, all of my hard work, everything that my mom went through, my whole entire journey has come to full fruition. I just want to continue to create opportunities, give back to the community, because I want to be the change that I want to see. Food is a way to bridge the gap. I want to continue to incorporate food, humanitarian work, and giving back to the world because it will change the world. It already does.
So let me first start by just showing you all of the tools and the ingredients that I have laid out for you. So of course, I have my trusty handy dandy KitchenAid Ultra Power Mixer. I never bake without this thing, let me tell you that. And so the recipe will call for 2 cake pans because it's a double layer cake. So I have these, I believe these are 9-inch cake pans. So we're gonna grease and flour these soon. So I'm gonna set these aside. I also have my measuring cups of various sizes. My measuring spoons. I'll need 1 or 2 of those. I have my sifter because we're gonna sift, as you will see in a few minutes. And then I have my bowl to keep things separate. And then I also have my butter that you also want to leave room temperature. You want to leave that out, so you have to set that out to bring down to room temperature. You never want to do cold butter when you're baking cakes unless the recipe calls for it. But our recipe is going to call for butter for the frosting. So it's not going to go into the cake except to butter our pan, but this is going to go into our frosting. So then it also will call for baking soda, some salt. I just have some bowls here to separate my ingredients. I have some espresso powder. I have my baking chocolate here that I'm going to melt down. See that? Hope I don't drop everything. I have my Piernagati baking powder, my cocoa powder. This stuff is delish. I have my cup of buttermilk, 2 eggs, my vanilla extract, and my strawberry puree. And that's fresh strawberries. And then I have my flour and my sugar here. So I believe these are every ingredient, every tool that I would need to get this cake accomplished. Okay, let's see how I do it. Come on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dump all of our dry ingredients in our bowl that's going to be set aside. So let me take my cup, my 1 cup measuring cup, and I'm going to go ahead and measure out, what is this, 1 3/4 cups. So I'm going to measure out 1 3/4 cups of flour for this cake. And what I normally do, I always lighten my flour, even though I'm going to put it through the sifter. I just always lighten my flour. So I just go like this, and then I will take this scoop and just loosely pack it in. Just let it fall in there. Tap it a little bit. And I'm going to just straighten up that edge. I'm just going to give it an edge. And then I'm going to dump it in here like that. Okay, so now I need 3/4 cups. So this is 1/4 measuring cup. This is a 1/4 measuring cup. So I'm going to do this 3 times. So same thing. So you got 1. You got 2. And then you have 3. Okay. So that's my 1 3/4 cup of flour. So then I can go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, so now it calls for my unsweetened cocoa powder. This is really good. And I also need 3/4 cups. So I don't want to make a mess here. So let me do this very carefully. And I'm not going to lighten this as much because it makes a mess. So I'm just going to tap it. And I'm going to just throw it in my sifter on top of my flour. And I am using unbleached flour, but you can use all-purpose flour. It doesn't matter. Your flour can be all-purpose or all-purpose unbleached flour. So bleached or unbleached, it doesn't matter. This is the second 1/4 cup going in. And then finally, the third. And I don't level off, I guess you could say, how I level off my flour. I don't level off my cocoa powder as much. I try to get it, you know, as close to the top as possible, but I don't level it off because, hey, more is more when you're talking about chocolate.
This chicken isn't actually chicken. It's vegan. It's Francesca Cheney's version of fried chicken. She's the 22-year-old owner of Soul Sips, a vegan restaurant in Brooklyn, New York. Yes, you heard me correctly. She's only 22 with her own restaurant. Personally, I'm not really big on vegan meat substitutes. There's something weird to me about trying to mimic the taste and texture of meat. But I stopped by Soul Sips to see if Francesca could change my mind. She swears by plant-based diets and became fully vegan when she went to college.
The catalyst moment was when I realized that I'm responsible for taking care of my own body. I had recently moved out of my home where my mom had been cooking vegan food, and so me transitioning into my own apartment and just like college life, I had to figure out ways to nourish myself.
Studies show that lower income neighborhoods are more exposed to unhealthy food sources, and Francesca wants to change that.
My motivation is really in believing that everyone deserves the opportunity to have a plant-based meal, to be fueled by the energy that's coming directly from the earth, and also to use these resources to take care of our bodies and cure our bodies. And in realizing that not every neighborhood gets to have access to organic produce or even vegan or vegetarian options.
Of course, organic food can be pricey, but since Soul Sips is all about accessibility, they have a solution.
So we do a sliding scale brunch every Saturday and Tuesday, and you can come in and pay anything that you can afford between $7 and $15. We've seen people come from the Bronx, from New Jersey, from many different parts of New York.
Soul Sips has a tiny kitchen with just one stove and a very small prep area. But that doesn't stop the food from flowing at a quick pace. The restaurant is small, but it's usually full. Okay, it's time for the taste test. I ordered the vegan fried chicken sandwich. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of weirded out by meat substitutes, but this sandwich really surprised me. Savory fried oyster mushrooms and avocado is paired with sweet raspberry and jam, and it's honestly one of the best sandwiches I've had in New York. Francesca cooks the food herself, but sometimes she gets some special help.
My mom is extremely helpful coming in, and also there are moments whereby like I need to be supported not only as a business owner, but like just as a human being, as a daughter, also being a person that's growing into my own self as a 22-year-old woman.
Part of that growth includes growing the restaurant as well, making healthy eats more accessible to more of New York.
I will continue to develop my practice of growing this space through that knowledge, and also by providing those resources that I gather to my community.
Okay, so that's that, and let me set that aside. Okay, now the recipe also calls for 2 cups of sugar, and it's going to go right on top of my cocoa powder. So I'm going to grab my 1 cup measuring cup again, and I'm just going to go right ahead and dip in my big jar of granulated white sugar. I'm going to pour that right on top. Okay. So then earlier when I showed you guys all of the tools, all of my measuring tools that I would need, I failed to mention that the recipe also calls for baking powder. So what I did, I went ahead and measured out 1 tablespoon of baking powder and 1 tablespoon of salt. So these 2 are in this small little measuring bowl here. So I'm going to go ahead and dump that right on top. And then I'm going to also go ahead and dump this right here is baking soda. And I'm going to go ahead and dump this on top as well. This is 1 3/4. 1 3/4 tablespoons of baking soda. And I have to go ahead and reference my recipe because those of you who are jotting it down, I want to make sure I give you guys the right measurement. Unfortunately, I've been making this cake for years and years, and I have not committed it to memory. I can make a pound cake in my sleep. This cake, however, I don't know why the measurements won't stick to my brain, but anyway. So we're going to go ahead and dump 1 3/4 baking soda. Okay, so we're done with all of these. So I'm going to go ahead and slide them to the side. They have played their role well. Let's give them a hand. Yes. All right, so we are finished with our sugar. We're going to slide her to the side and see it's starting to clear up. Now, we are going to also make a homemade icing or homemade frosting for this cake. And it requires melting chocolate. It requires butter, all that good stuff. It requires powdered sugar and like all kinds of good stuff. Coffee, espresso. So we're going to save that for later. That's going to be our next step later down in the story. So what we're going to do now is we are going to sift this through. Now what you can do is just go ahead and go like this. But what I like to do, which I forgot again, I like to also help work this through my sifter. I'm going to go ahead and get my whisk. This is another tool that is very helpful in the kitchen, and I like to just whisk it through. So you see that here? Let me see if I can tilt this and show you guys. I just like to work it through. See that? And because the cocoa powder is heavier, it's always the last to go. The granulated sugar and the flour fall so gracefully through the sieve, but the cocoa powder is weightier. So it's always the last to go. And then you'll find that you have these little granules left behind, and you can either try to push it through, and then I always discard big pieces. And I'm back. So what you have now is your dry mixture all ready to go. And I just like to go ahead and just keep whisking that, making sure everything is incorporated, because you want to make sure that you work through your baking soda, your baking powder, your salt, your sugar, your flour. You want to make sure all of that is evenly distributed through your mixture. So whisking or stirring it really, really well is key, because you don't want parts and patches of your cake not being developed properly. Okay, now we're going to set this aside. And what we're going to do is take our next measuring bowl, and we're going to add our wet ingredients to this as well. So we're going to go ahead and pour in our milk. We are going to go ahead and crack our eggs. The recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. And what I'm going to do is use the same cup that the milk was in, the buttermilk was in, because who has time to do 100 pieces of dishes, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just add a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. Here we go. And I'm gonna throw that in here along with my buttermilk. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and set my vegetable oil aside. And then I'm gonna also add my eggs. So I'm gonna crack them. And I'm gonna crack them into this cup as well, because who wants a shell in their mixture, not I. So I'm gonna go ahead and crack inside just to ensure that I don't have to fish out any shells. It's always good to take precautions just so you don't mess up your batter or any type of mixture that you are working with. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump my eggs right on in here as well. So now, so we're finished with that, and I can set that aside as well. So now, what I'm gonna do is add my flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my vanilla extract. And it calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I like to be a little generous, so I'm gonna do 1.5 teaspoons, just to give it some good flavor. So I'm gonna also set that aside. All right, so now I'm gonna bring back out my whisk, and we're going to whisk this up. It's time for us to start on our dry mixture. We're going to combine our dry mixture with our wet ingredients. And then the secret ingredient also is 1 cup of freshly brewed coffee. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll come right back. Okay, and I am back. So you saw how I buttered and floured my 2 round cake pans. And so now we're about to get to assembling our cake batter. I'm going to gently mix my dry ingredients through again. So that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you are mixing your ingredients again. So I'm going to go ahead and lock my mixer in place, and I'm gonna turn it on slowly. It's going to create some type of dust cloud, but you know, we can't get away from that. That's why it's important to mix it on low, the lowest setting possible. So now, while that's going on, while she's running, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slowly add my buttermilk, eggs, and vanilla extract and my oil mixture to this. Smells good, but it's smoky up in here. All right, so now while the mixture is running and it's wet now, our secret yummy ingredients is 1 cup of freshly brewed coffee. I'm gonna go ahead and add this cup of coffee to my mixture while it's running. Let's hope I don't splatter all over the place. Ooh, it smells so heavenly. And coffee, if you didn't know, I know those that are in the culinary world know that coffee turbocharges, it enhances the flavor of chocolate. It does not bother. It really marries well with chocolate, just like chili goes well with chocolate. So if you wanted like a spiced chocolate, fall is coming up, you can spice up your chocolate with chili powder. It surprisingly goes well. It's the same thing with coffee. A lot of people may not think that, oh, why would you put coffee in your chocolate? I do that with my brownies. Anything chocolate, you can enhance it by using either liquid coffee or coffee powder, espresso powder. finely ground instant coffee will bump up your chocolate flavor and baking. So that's a culinary tip for you guys. Coffee is the key. So now, our mixture is ready. The batter is very loose. It's a very loose batter, but that's what's gonna make for a nice, fluffy, moist cake. And let me see if I can get you a picture. See how it looks? See how loose? That's how it's supposed to look. Beautiful chocolate batter. So now we will, let me clear the ducts here for a minute. We're going to take our cake pans. We're going to take each of our cake pans and we're going to pour the batter equally divided between the two cake pans. And then the magic is going to happen after these bake up and cool off. All right, let's go.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love
these two cake pans filled with this beautiful velvety chocolate batter are now ready to go into a 350 degree preheated oven. So if I did not mention, always, now my pupils know that you always preheat your oven before you even start. So in your prep time, you want to go ahead, walk over to your oven and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So then we're going to carefully walk these over to our oven and we're going to put them in.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la.
Okay guys, so let's see if our cakes are ready. So what I normally do is go in and just tap with clean hands, of course. And it's a little jiggly in the middle. So I'm gonna go ahead and let them hang out for just a few seconds more. But meanwhile, while we are waiting for the cakes to finish up, I'm gonna show you how to do a double boiler and how I melt my chocolate. So I'm gonna take 1 bar of my Valrhona and 1 bar of this Trader Joe's Fair Trade Belgian dark chocolate. I'm going to take these 2 bars, I'm going to break them up and put them in this pan. So what I do is fill the pot, a larger pot with water. Now don't fill it up all the way where the water will touch this bowl because you don't want your chocolate to burn or scorch. So I just have it filled up, not even an inch, about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches. And the bowl definitely does not touch the water. It clears it perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. And let me flip you guys around so you can see what I'm going to do. Okay, so now I'm going to open up my chocolate. And I am going to go ahead and break this chocolate up to make our homemade frosting. See how, ooh, look at this chocolate. It's so nice and dark. Ooh, it smells fabulous. So it smells like it's going to give great flavor to our cake frosting. So I'm just going to go ahead, break up the chocolate. And you just want to break them up in good pieces where they will melt rapidly. You don't want your chocolate to take all day. So break them up in fairly small pieces where you'll give your chocolate a good start in melting, and it'll also melt uniformly. And do the same thing with our 2nd bar of chocolate. So we're gonna go ahead and open this up. Ooh, if you guys could smell what I'm smelling. It is, ooh, fabulous. Look at this dark chocolate. Oh, I love it. Break this up as well. Ooh, do I have hand strength? It's a little thicker, but that's okay. Okay. All right, so we are going to allow this to melt. Now, let me go ahead and check on my cakes.
Hello and welcome back. In this Black Excellence presentation, we will highlight 20 trailblazing Black chefs.
Welcome to blackexcellence.com, the site where we share Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you.
The Daily Meal and New York Times recently compiled a list of Black trailblazers in the kitchen, both past and present, who broke barriers by achieving first while cooking food that celebrate and reflect their African heritage. These accomplished chefs were able to achieve milestones that include penning top-selling books, earning nominations for cooking competitions, and making a name for themselves in the world of food. They are among a growing army of talented Black chefs across the country who were able to move past the Eurocentric traditions and preferences that many absorbed in culinary school, making their voices heard and food savored in new, unimaginable ways. In this original Black Excellence video, we will be featuring Black chefs who are pioneers in America's culinary arena. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. Mariah Russell. Mariah Russell became the first African-American woman to earn a Michelin star in 2020 for her work as a chef de cuisine of the popular Chicago bar Kumiko and its sister restaurant Kiko. Her dishes are known as Luxe Small Bites that showcase Japanese technique, ingredients, and flavors. Russell understands that representation is very important in an industry that systematically undervalues African Americans and women. She does not deny that there is inherent pressure of running a celebrated restaurant as a Black woman, especially in the city of Chicago. But through all of the ups and downs, she's found happiness in making good food for people and making them feel like they're at home. Number 2. Edna Lewis. Known as the Grande Dame of Southern cooking, Edna Lewis was among the first African-American women from the South to pen a cookbook that did not hide the author's true name, gender, or race, according to the National Women's History Museum. Lewis spent more than 75 years in the culinary world, where she was hailed as an esteemed chef in many popular restaurants, published 3 highly acclaimed cookbooks, and won multiple James Beard Awards. Lewis died at 89 years old in 2006, but her legacy lives on. In fact, a first edition of one of her most famous cookbooks, In Pursuit of Flavor, is featured at the Smithsonian Institute's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Number 3. Daryl Evans. Daryl Evans was the first African American to participate in the International Culinary Olympics in Frankfurt, Germany, where he won 3 gold medals and 1 silver medal in 1998 and 1992, according to the African American Chefs Hall of Fame, to which he was inducted. He continued his culinary career as a chef's apprentice with the American Culinary Federation at the Cherokee Town and Country Club. He was later appointed executive chef, a position he held at several restaurants, country clubs, and 4-star establishments. Evans passed away in 2014 at 52 years old. Number 4. Marcus Samuelsson. In the 1990s, Marcus Samuelsson received a 3-star rating from the New York Times at 25 years old, the youngest person to receive such an accolade at the time, for his food at the high-end Scandinavian restaurant Aquavit. He currently owns and operates Red Rooster Harlem in New York City, along with a number of other restaurants. In 2016, Samuelsson was inducted into the James Beard Foundation Who's Who of Food and Beverage in America. He is the co-founder and co-producer of the annual Food and Culture Festival, Harlem Eat Up. He also has his own show on PBS, No Passport Required, helping him become one of the biggest celebrity food stars of the past decade. Number 5. Leah Chase. Leah Chase, also known as the Queen of Creole Cuisine, was the executive chef and co-owner of the Dookie Chase's restaurant in New Orleans, one of the most historic restaurants in America. Chase was an acclaimed cookbook author and appeared on cooking shows with nationally recognized chefs, including Julia Child. She was awarded for both her work as a chef and in public service. When African Americans were denied a seat in New Orleans restaurants in the 50s and 60s, she cooked for them and fed meals to civil rights workers on the front lines. Chase died in June 2019, but Dookie's continues to be a stomping ground for regulars, locals, and tourists like Barack Obama. Number 6. Joe Randall. A living legend, Joe Randall is known by many as the Dean of Southern Cuisine, and he's been cooking up Southern dishes in Savannah, Georgia since 1999. Randall climbed the ranks from Air Force Flight Line kitchens to executive chef at dozens of restaurants, including the award-winning Cloister Restaurant. His passion for people and cooking runs so deep, he opened his own cooking school in 2000. Randall's cookbook, A Taste of Heritage, The New African American Cuisine, is on permanent display at the Smithsonian Institute's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Randall is also the president of A Taste of Heritage Foundation, which sponsors the African American Chefs Hall of Fame. Number 7. Patrick Clark. Patrick Clark was the first Black chef to win a James Beard Best Chef Award, which he took home for the Mid-Atlantic region in 1994. Following this massive accomplishment, Clark was offered the position of executive chef at Tavern on the Green, one of the country's most successful restaurants at the time. Clark then took over the kitchen of Washington, D.C.'s prestigious Hay Adams Hotel, which led him to later catering meals at the White House. His 1998 obituary names him one of America's most beloved chefs. Number 8. Mashama Bailey. Mashama Bailey, executive chef and partner of The Gray in Savannah, Georgia, spent many years cooking throughout New York City's restaurant scene. At The Gray, Bailey has earned a number of awards, including the James Beard Foundation's Best Chef Southeast Award in 2019. She also serves as vice chairman on the board of the Edna Lewis Foundation, which preserves and celebrates the legacy of the late chef who influenced Bailey's menu at The Gray. Number 9. Carla Hall. Carla Hall has been called the most visible Black person in food. She's known for her stint on Bravo's Top Chef, her time as co-host on ABC's Emmy award-winning show The Chew, and appearances on Good Morning America. Aside from her 3 popular cookbooks, she's a judge on a number of shows and specials. In 2018, her book, Carla Hall's Soul Food, Every Day in Celebration, received an NAACP Image Awards nomination. Number 10. Bryant Terry. Bryant Terry is a James Beard Award-winning chef and author known for advocating for a more healthy and sustainable food system. Since 2015, he has been the chef in residence at the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco, where he creates content about food, farming, health, activism, and culture. His 4th book, Afro Vegan, was chosen as one of the best cookbooks of the year in 2014 by Amazon. In 2016, business media brand Fast Company included Bryant among the 9 people who are changing the future of food. Number 11. Eduardo Jordan. After Eduardo Jordan opened June Baby in Seattle in 2017, he received Best Chef Northwest and Best New Restaurant awards from the James Beard Foundation in 2018, making him the first Black chef to win the Best New Restaurant award. Jordan's menus are inspired by cuisine from France, Italy, the American South, and the Caribbean, and can be described as upscale modern takes on classic soul food. Number 12. Kwame Onwuachi. Kwame Onwuachi emerged from his Top Chef Season 13 run ready to take on the food world. In 2019, he published a memoir titled Notes from a Young Black Chef. That same year, he received the James Beard Award for Rising Star Chef of the Year. His training at some of the top restaurants in the country shows at his Washington, D.C. restaurant, Kith Kin, where his food is a nod to Afro-Caribbean and Creole food, as well as the African diaspora. Number 13. Robert W. Lee. In the 1930s and 40s, Robert W. Lee was one of the African-American chefs brought north by wealthy restaurant owners at a time when executive chefs were mostly European. Up until World War II, Lee worked as executive chef at the Harrisburger Hotel in Pennsylvania, where he made the menus, did all the hiring, and trained hundreds of African-American chefs. During the war, Lee received a medal from President Franklin D. Roosevelt for the large number of troops he taught how to cook. Lee died in November 1999, and his famous crab cake recipe lives on with his legacy. Number 14. Nina Compton. On the 11th season of Bravo's Top Chef in New Orleans, Nina Compton may have come in second place, but she was voted fan favorite. Since then, she has opened 2 restaurants, Compère Le Pain and Bywater American Bistro in the Big Easy, utilizing flavors from her Caribbean roots on the menus. Compton was named one of Food and Wine magazine's Best New Chefs 2017, and Compère Le Pain was named Best New Restaurant by both New Orleans Magazine and the Times-Picayune. She also won a prestigious James Beard Foundation Award for Best Chef in the South in 2018. Number 15. Leon West. Leon West went from being a busboy and dishwasher in 1962 at a diner in his hometown of Boston to receiving the President's Medallion from the American Culinary Federation for culinary excellence in 2011. Between those moments in 1962 and 2011, West received Chef of the Year honors from the American Culinary Federation New Orleans chapter in 1996 and served as executive chef of the Taste of the NFL in 2002. He is known as one of New Orleans' most talented chefs. Number 16. Tregay Frazier. One of the things you may not know about the Food Network is that Tregay Frazier was the first Black woman to win Food Network Star in the show's 12th season. She has also been a competitor on the show's Cutthroat Kitchen and Guy's Grocery Games. Frazier attended Le Cordon Bleu for culinary school, but soon realized her love for cooking came from her grandmother's meals and love for fusion cuisine, which set her apart from other formally trained chefs. Number 17. J.J. Johnson. J.J. Johnson is a James Beard-nominated chef known for creating simple cuisine with bold flavors, inspired by the Caribbean food he grew up cooking with his Puerto Rican grandmother. Johnson's fast casual restaurant concept, Field Trip, is a Harlem spot that showcases heirloom rice from around the world. He's also one of the chefs for BuzzFeed's Tasty platform that is followed by millions of people and hosts Just Eats with Chef JJ on TV1's new network, Clio TV. Number 18. Nyesha J. Arrington. Chef Nyesha J. Arrington has absolutely adored the kitchen since she was just a little girl. Arrington, born in Southern California to a multicultural family, was introduced to diverse foods such as bulgogi, octopus, and homemade kimchi. Exposure to a variety of culinary experiences, she has always been inspired to integrate flavors and techniques from around the world, thus creating a personal style that is unparalleled. A graduate of the prestigious culinary school at the Art Institute of California, Los Angeles in 2001, she has cooked with legendary French chef Joël Robuchon at his Michelin and Mobile Award-winning Las Vegas restaurants. Arrington is an ardent believer in using farm-fresh, locally sourced ingredients and not afraid to bring in products from around the world, as it is the best way to draw global inspiration when creating her works of art. Number 19. Jerome Grant. Jerome Grant is an American chef in Washington, D.C., most notable as Sweet Home Cafe's inaugural executive chef of the historic National Museum of African American History and Culture. Grant and his recipes have been featured in the Washington Post, Time Magazine, the New York Times, Bon Appetit, National Geographic Channel, and Travel and Leisure magazine, among other notable publications. Grant was a recipient of the Star Chef's Rising Star Award for the D.C. Chesapeake region in 2018. Number 20. McKinney Howe. McKinney Howe is a lifelong vegan, chef, restaurateur, community leader, and plant-based food advocate. Since 2009, McKinney's flagship restaurant, Plum Bistro, has grown from its tiny footprint in Seattle's vibrant Capitol Hill neighborhood into an international plant-loving food movement. McKinney has had the unique opportunity to serve as chef to the stars, cooking for celebrities such as Stevie Wonder, Serena Williams, and Queen Latifah. She is also a culinary advisor for companies like Google, where she helps chefs develop new plant-forward food programs. Makini's passion for building community through a shared love of food has led her to create recipes in a cookbook that makes it easy for anyone to create delicious and satisfying plant-based food at home.
All right, now my cakes are done. I see them peeking at the top. I'm gonna go ahead and pull them out. As you can see, the cakes are done. I'm gonna allow them to cool. I'm gonna flip them out on a cake cooling rack and set them aside and allow our homemade frosting to come together. When the cakes are completely cool, we're gonna move into our next phase. Okay guys, we are coming to the final steps of our cake assembly. So the first thing I do is I have my sticks of butter. The recipe calls for 2 sticks of softened butter. So you just bring them down to room temperature, just bring it out of your refrigerator, and that morning let it hang out until you make your cake, and it should be nice and soft and fluffy. So we're gonna go ahead and we dump these in already. So I'm going to take out my measuring spoons again, and I'm going to use the 1 teaspoon measuring spoon. And I'm gonna go ahead and put just a little bit. I'm gonna be a little bit light on this espresso. I'm gonna do a little less than 1 teaspoon. So I'm gonna do, because it's really strong. It's strong. So about, maybe I should even do a 1/2 teaspoon, but okay. So I'm gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm gonna throw that in there. And this time I'm not going to use my KitchenAid mixer. I have my handheld mixer. So I have my handheld mixer. I have 1 beater attached. I normally, like, you can use 2, but I like to use just 1 beater so I can get in there and work it in. It just, for me, works better. So now our butter and our espresso powder is mixed nicely together. It's nice and creamed. So now I'm going to go ahead and slowly add my powdered sugar, a 1/2 cup to a cup at a time, to my mixture. I'm going to also add a teaspoon of vanilla extract as well. And we're going to go for our 2nd cup of sugar. Dump that right on top and continue to mix. We're getting there. Let me wash my hands real quick. Okay. A little less than 1 cup went in, about 3/4 cup went in. So now it's time to add our melted chocolate. It's cooled down, and you want to make sure that you're working with cooled chocolate because you don't want it to melt your butter, right? All right, so we're gonna, look at that. I'm gonna mix that all in. All right, and we're done. Now what you could do is you could add like a teaspoon, if that, of milk or something if you want it more velvety. But I think I'm okay with my mixture as long as it spreads. Yeah, it's spreadable. I'm doing my test just to make sure that it's spreadable and I don't tear my cake up. All right, guys, so now we are at the phase where we will icing our cakes. So each layer of cake gets some nice icing, and we also will add some fresh strawberry puree on the bottom layer and nestle it in between the bottom and top layer. So, okay, let's see how this will work. I'm gonna start with one layer is a little thicker. So I think that one will be the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this out. Always start with clean hands. I just washed my hands for like the 10,000th time. And I'm going to, that came off clean enough. And I'm going to lay this, I don't know if I should lay, yeah, I guess I'll lay it on the flat side. And lay it down in the middle of your cake pad. And this is the little lady's favorite cake that I bake of hers. So she's not gonna want this cake to leave the house, but this cake is leaving the house. After today, she might have a piece, the hubby might have a piece, and I'm gonna have a piece, but we are sending this cake out of this.
See Black food and Black culture going in the future?
Sky's the limit. Have a meal with somebody. You get to understand so much more about them. It's such an intimate thing. And, you know, with Black food, where it's at now, it's extremely important to showcase where it was all this time in history and what it's attributed to history. Like, it's done so many great things to what America is now, you know, that it shouldn't be overshadowed.
The way that the industry is formatted and the way that it's set up, it's framed to often keep women and people of color and people that are marginalized away from it. I think that's part of what I want to change about the food industry. And I think that the future looks like not just staffing with people of color, but actually building communities of color and pouring back into those communities, since so much has been taken from us, whether that be ideas or sweat labor or sweat equity. I think that, you know, it's the ask is what is being put back into our communities.
So let's get started. And what you want to do is make sure you have enough icing. I know this seems like it's extreme, but you want to make sure that you have enough icing, because you don't want your spatula to touch the actual cake, because that's when you'll get your cake to be ripped up and you'll also get crumbs in your icing. So what you want to do, and I have a turntable here, you see this? You don't need all of this. You can spin your cake plate or pad around if you need to, but I'm a baker, so that's what I do. So what I'm doing here is just spreading my icing out to the edges of my cake, and I'm going around, and I'm taking care not to break through the layer of my icing where the cake might come through, and I might touch it with my spatula. And you see how like all of that icing is now being thinned out. So I'm gonna go ahead, keep on doing this. I'm gonna work it to the edge of my cake. Taking care not to let your spatula touch your cake. Don't let the spatula touch your cake, because that's when you'll get ripping, and you don't want any crumbs in your icing. that I have this layer on, I was struggling for a minute because I believe I put a little bit too much puree, which caused my cake to shift. But now that I have anchored it and cemented it with my icing, I hope it's not jiggling too much. And I'm going to go ahead and set it in my refrigerator also so it can set and kind of firm up. But let me show you the progress. So here is the progress of my cake. And I am just now cleaning it up and making it look pretty and just going over patches that need my attention and things like that. So I just want to even it out and make sure it is doing what it's supposed to do. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just go in and make it pretty. Okay guys, so this is the final result of my chocolate strawberry puree cake. And this is my homage to Culinary Arts Week. So I hope and pray that you guys have had fun with me today, that you will try this recipe out. Your family and friends will thank you for it. You'll thank me later. You're welcome. So yes, so I hope and pray that you guys enjoy Culinary Arts Month. Try your hand at something. Try your hand at baking or cooking a dish that maybe you've never tried before. I know I'm going to. But hats off to all of our chefs out there, all of our bakers out there, all of our home cooks out there, and even those who are just trying. So happy Culinary Arts Month to you all. And as always, I'm wishing you comfort and joy from my heart and kitchen to yours. Happy eating. Hope I don't drop it.